sick, huh? All right, log in, Tommy, and we'll get going here. Okay, I'll call this meeting of the Board of Appeals to order. We have a little bit of housekeeping that we will do before we get into the interesting part. First of all, gentlemen, do you have any comments regarding the minutes from the last meeting?
Make a motion to approve the
I second.
minutes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And I think we need to approve the minutes before us tonight, or the agenda anyway, to satisfy the obligations. All in favor? Aye. Hello, Noel. Does anyone need to abstain from voting tonight?
No.
All noes. Who is out to the property? Any of us without any of the properties before us tonight?
No.
No one was. Did you speak with anyone regarding the variance requests before us tonight?
No.
All right. I think we need a motion to open the floor for discussion.
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the floor is open for discussion. Anything you need to tell us before we start, Paul?
Yep.
All right. I think we're ready to talk about the Goodletson property. Would you care to come forward?
I'll give a brief introduction too, if you,
Yep.
if you want.
They can come up and sit here as you give the explanation.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Paul?
I'll maybe give you a brief overview of the property. So this is on the southwest side of Green Bay. I-41 is over on the right-hand side, Hazelwood Lane is on the south here. This is the subject property in question, 1961 tree land. It's a single-family home in a low-density residential district, an area of pretty much established homes. This is the property. Reason for the request is an expanded driveway. We'd like to retain that existing driveway that was put in some time ago, just to the left here. Back in 2000, you can kind of see it's still in its infancy as far as the subdivision. The home was existing, the existing drive was there. That went into the existing two-stall garage. In 2005, there was an expansion. We don't have a record of this expansion at that time. So between 2000 and 2005, there was some sort of driveway expansion that occurred. In 2014, there was an additional expansion. I don't think we have a permit for it. You can see it more clearly, the expansion in 2005, then some sort of maybe drive or sidewalk that leads back, I believe, to a shed in the back. This is from the applicant showing kind of a plan view, the garage, tree land, the adjoining property, and the expanded drive here. I think they're within about 8 inches or so to the lot line. There is a fence that separates the two properties. There are some images that were supplied by the applicant here, and they can probably expand on this more than I can, some of the details. Again, expanded driveway, some fencing that was added. There is, again, some sort of walk or drive that goes back to the shed in the back. Perspective looking north to the neighbor. And then again, kind of more perspective about a large tree that's on the neighbor's property here and its possible impact on the expanded driveway. There is some correspondence from the neighbors attached within the agenda. You may want to review that. But, that is the basics.
Now, I understand that this was resulted from was it a complaint or was it a standard neighborhood review?
It was a complaint. That
It was a complaint, okay. And timeline-wise, it appeared to me that, just to reiterate the obvious that you've explained here, that sometime between 2000 and 2005, the driveway expansion was installed. At that point, at 2005, there apparently was no development of a house on the property to the north.
Correct.
I believe in the notes that we received that house was built in something like 2007-ish. And just to review, I believe the applicant has said that you bought the property in 2011.
That is correct, April of 2011.
Okay. Anything else, Paul?
Nope, that's all I have.
Okay, good, thank you. Did you care to expand at all on the explanation that Paul has given us tonight for your application?
Simply that it was there prior, according to the aerials, somewhere around 2004. No homes have been built in that neighborhood or in the last 5 years. All of the homes have been there. So from 2004 until the present, it's not affected anybody. There's never been a complaint. We did install a very nice looking fence to block any car lights or things of that nature. It is professionally landscaped. And again, there has been no issues. It was there, I do use it. We have a very odd shaped lot, as you can see. We are 162 across the front and 49 along the back. The only way to enter our backyard, I am a contractor, I do property maintenance and management. I park a trailer there. For me,
Occasionally park a trailer there, it's not all there all the time. so.
one of the things that attracted us to the neighborhood and to that particular property.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Okay,
I would like to add that a few things that we had noticed in Miss Lay's letter that she wrote is that third stall, she's worried about some damage to our property. And we don't park any vehicles in that particular area.
At all.
So there wouldn't be any damage.
so there aren't any vehicles, at least as you practice using your expansion. You just
Correct.
park a trailer of sorts.
Correct.
We've got a trailer
We
there
do
that
not
we
put a
park
vehicle there
just-
at all.
That we had just started parking there for a few months out of the winter, and that's it. Other than that, we don't, as you can see by that first photo, our daughter's car is not even parked there. So we park in our garage every evening, and our daughter parks in one of the stalls. So that expansion is not used to park a vehicle.
Okay. Questions, gentlemen, of the applicants?
Paul, can you clarify the variances? That always helps me.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, there's one variance, and that's the setback, a 2.5-foot side yard setback. Technically, it doesn't meet the taper requirements as well, from the right-of-way into that next stall. Basically, it's a 2.5-foot setback.
And that's from the lot line on this side, the top side,
On the
correct?
north side,
The
right?
expansion going back towards the back shed is not applicable for this? It's just the...
It's not part of this request, and it's not as visible. I can't speak to that necessarily, it's just the drive in the
It's
front.
just that section in the front of the driveway we're talking about with the 2.5-foot setback.
Right.
You just confused me.
Okay.
I'm easily confused. I thought that the variance request was for the presence of a parking spot that is in the setback, and that it didn't lead to
Yeah,
a new spot beyond the garage.
that is correct, too. It's all in the same section, I guess.
Okay,
right.
okay.
So, right,
But
it
there's
does not
also-
lead to a parking spot technically.
Okay, but there is also a side yard setback issue.
If I can add to that, we are 13 inches from the lot pin to the concrete. If you're saying there's a 2.5-foot setback, we're talking about 13 inches of concrete that's existed for approximately 20 to 16 years. So with that 2.5-foot setback, we are 17 inches off of the lot line. So we're talking about basically a 1-foot
1-foot piece of concrete. that's-
piece of concrete on that third stall that is there.
The taper isn't quite right either?
Correct.
Okay.
It's kind of highlighted here. Really, the taper should start at this point.
Oh, yeah,
too.
okay, got it. Yep.
And I would be willing to cut that section out and make it straight. It is all landscaped and everything, but again, I think that's a 2 foot from, with the roadside up to what I would call the sidewalk, and 2.5 feet over. I would be willing to take that out tomorrow morning.
Okay. Any further questions of the applicants?
I do believe we have all of the letters from our neighbors as well.
Yes.
There's some neighbors here as well.
Yes,
Stated
yes.
that this kept up well, and
along with
Doesn't
our
oppose-
aldermen.
Doesn't oppose a problem, Frank.
Okay. Good, if you guys could have a seat, we'll hear
Thank
from
you.
others who may wish to speak. Does anyone else here wish to speak regarding this variance request? Sir?
Do you want me up there, or would you?
Yes.
Okay.
Could you state your name and your address?
James Fitzgerald, reside in 1923 Treeland, which is about 4 doors up the street.
Okay?
I and my wife purchased our property approximately 4 years ago. And we love that neighborhood. The Goodletsons have a beautifully well-manicured, well-maintained home. It's never provided any problem, didn't preclude us from looking at the neighborhood in any kind of a dissatisfactory fashion. But I think there's a bigger issue at hand, and I humbly apologize to you for even having to deal with it. And that's that we have a complaint that has brought us to the table tonight. In essence, the neighbor was fine with it for a period of 4 or 5 years. But now, by virtue of her being involved with a tree dispute, where the droppings from the tree are causing damage to the Goodletson property, she's seeing fit to bring this issue back up. So I think it's important that you have that on the record, because I know you're not here to settle that kind of a dispute.
Right.
But I think it is germane to the topic as to why we are here tonight. But in closing, the Goodletson property is a beautifully well-kept property. By the way, these individuals are the first people that when there is a snowfall, when there is a problem in the neighborhood, they're the first to come out and help their neighbors. They came up and helped me landscape. Didn't have to do it, but just because that's the type of neighbor they are, they did. So I'm also here to speak to their good character.
All right.
Thank you.
Good, thank you, sir. Does anybody else wish to speak regarding this variance request? Okay, Mr. Sir,
Yeah, I'll say a few words. Neighbor as well.
I'll get to you. Have a chair. And give us your name and address.
My name is Matt Wysick, address 1968 Treeland Drive. I am just to the west, one house to the south.
Okay?
Again, we've been neighbors with them since 2012. That particular driveway, we've seen it on many occasions, visiting with the neighborhood. And again, we don't have, reemphasize what Jim had mentioned, we have no concerns over the aesthetics of that driveway. I think it's well maintained. The fence that they put up also tends to block it from that particular property owner. I think it is well-kept property, as Jim mentioned. I really don't see a reason that it would need to come out as far as a neighborhood standpoint. I know that what you guys are going to be discussing here is the variance in the ordinance that applies to that. But again, just wanted to make it clear that we take no objection as far as me and my wife to that driveway staying in place.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. Vanderleest, would you care to speak?
Yes. I support the Goodletsons on to maintain their existing driveway. I think that, just from the appearance of the project, how it looks. In other words, the other property owner, her driveway's on the opposite side of the property as well, so I don't think there's any issues as far as, cars coming in on both sides. If you look at, just like there's adequate space, and they have a fence as far as the traffic, as far as the lanes go and things like that, so I do support it. I represent both people in the district, and I understand that, everybody has their agenda. But I think in this case that it's a well-kept property, and I think the testimony that came forward is a merits to retain their existing driveway.
Okay.
I thank you.
Good, thank you, sir. Before we start our discussion amongst ourselves, is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against the variance request before us? Sir? You can state your name and address.
Dan Wirtz, 1967 Treeland Drive.
All right.
My wife and I are neighbors to the south, and we were our two houses were built the same year, were original ones from their, it's gonna be their 30th year. And since they moved in, you know, the saying, you can't pick your neighbors, well, the ones before them, and the Goodwitsons are, you couldn't pick better.
Okay.
And I know the driveway, there is an issue with anybody, including us. And I just think the way they keep that, you should be able to grant the variance because there hasn't been an issue until now because of something else. But
Okay. I appreciate your comments, sir. Thank you. We'll begin our discussion amongst ourselves. I don't believe there's any more people who wish to speak on this issue. Sir,
Yes, may I add one more thing?
you may.
I noticed, may I say Paul? Paul? I noticed when Paul was making his presentation, he was talking about the fence. It should be noted, if it hasn't already, that the Goodlitsons did comply and pulled a permit for that project when they did it, and anything that they've done, they've always pulled a project for,
Okay.
pulled a permit for it, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Gentlemen?
I have a quick measurement question, Paul, for you. Noel, you're usually pretty good at these things too. Let's say the expansion did lead to a side parking spot. Based on normal expansion of that, would it be possible to accomplish that for cars? You know, like you guys usually know the average size that you need to go. Would it be possible to make that happen the way their property is laid out without going past that variance? That 2.5 foot setback? Does that make sense what I'm
It'd
saying?
be really tight, so you're talking about a parking spot behind the setback.
Let's say they did it correctly, right?
Yeah.
Which we always like to look at the land and the way their property kind of lands with that diagonal piece going through.
I think you need about 8 or 9 feet at least to get a parking spot there. I don't know if they quite have that distance.
Okay. Does that make
It's
sense
tight.
to you guys why I'm asking you that? Just because of
I
the,
see. You're asking, Tommy, if it's possible that what's referred to there as a service walk actually could, in a pinch, be used to park a car.
yeah. Like, is it even possible with the way their property is built up? Which always helps for me, that variance, that hardship is the property itself based on the way the house is designed. Doesn't have the ability to even do it correctly. And
Small, really
Really small, mini.
Mini Cooper.
I think with the fence placement and it's being off the lot line, I think there's probably very little chance of creating that spot.
Okay.
Smart car.
Questions, gentlemen? Further concerns?
Yeah, I've got just some, it looks like, is it, and I can't find it as I'm scrolling through here. There was a letter from the city informing them of the lack of compliance here.
I think it's in the application, second page maybe.
Second page, why am I not getting it now? No, I see it now. And certainly, one of the speakers brought it up, and it's in the correspondence we received. There's some sort of dispute going on between the neighbors on either side of this fence right now about, I'm assuming, the tree that I can see on the extreme left of this photo. And you know, one of the reasons I imagine for these side yard setbacks that we've got is sometimes trees hang over a lot line and might drop, you know, their fruit.
First thing.
And that's one of the reasons, you know, you might have, hey, don't park right up to the lot line, because, you know, tree branches can go over and things like that. This is a very tall tree, but, you know, allowing the work that had been done, granted long ago, that was not properly permitted and is not currently in compliance, to persist, you know, in some respect, to me, will perpetuate the dispute that these neighbors have, and one of the ways that we might resolve it is by not allowing them to have the pavement there. So it's just Not necessarily stating a position I'm going to take when it comes time to vote this up or down, but an observation I felt appropriate to make about the issue.
Okay, thank you. Do we, another question that we usually ask, was there an ordinance that this violated, even at the time it was put in?
Well, besides the permitting issue, it probably would have, yes. I think back in the day, there would have been a 6-foot setback. We saw a rash of these through the 2000s, and, the code was changed to go down to 2.5 feet. So I think back in the day, it was a minimum 6-foot side yard setback for parking.
How long has the extra space been there, the third?
Since
Since what year?
Since at least, since the mid-2000s, you said, Paul?
Before 2005.
Between 2000 and 2005. So this is from 2000 right here, and there's some expansion at that point.
So it was expanded before the purchase of the property?
I believe so, under
Okay.
different ownership. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they inherited it.
Before there was even a house on the north side. I guess from my perspective, I'm okay with granting the variance here, because I believe that, I understand that grandfathering is not a term that we're supposed to use, but in this case, this is a pre-existing situation from long ago, before the current owners into the situation. So on that basis, I'd be inclined to grant the variance.
And just we're kind of in that spot, I mean, I'm inclined to vote yes. I always try and look at the hardship of the land. And Paul, if you can go back to the last slide that you were just on, that diagonal lot where the house is built, look at this as a new expansion rather than already being done. If they wanted to create that second parking spot, along the side, they physically would not be able to do that because of the limitations of the property. And to me, that is what lives with the property versus the owners. So for me, that fits that variance request checkbox for me. So I don't look at it as an existing project. I look at it as, hey, let's presume this is a brand new project, and could they accomplish what they wanted to do? And I don't think they could with property the way it's built. So I'm inclined to, regardless of the dispute, which I appreciate, Nolan, that's a difficult situation for anybody to be in, but specifically for this variance, I think I'm inclined to vote okay for this.
I look at the dispute as an unrelated issue.
Yes, I would agree.
And so that's part of this, I guess, but to me, it's unrelated to what we have to decide. And
Well, except
so-
for, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think I appreciate the neighbors' support. I think that dispute is unrelated to what they're asking for. And that's why we have all the other neighbors that are supportive of it. It looks nice. And it's been happening for years. I'd be inclined to vote yes too, in support of it.
I would note that the neighbor specifically to the north kind of tied the two issues together by saying that she'd actually be in support of granting the variance
Right.
were she given some assurance that she's not going to get her insurance company dinged for the tree, so-
Right.
Yeah, I saw that, but
Which
we
means
didn't
she's
know.
not really opposed to it.
Right.
But we have no purview to what.
I would-
No, I
don't even want to submit you.
No, no, but hey, it's just,
Not this day, quid pro quo.
she wants to be heard first. Yeah, this is, and it certainly is an interesting lot. It looks like it's been attacked by a giant triangle. Yeah, the seam between a couple of different subdivisions there, I'm assuming is what that red line is, right, Paul?
Jim, any thoughts?
Yeah.
I don't know where Noel's at yet.
The tree down and
The other thing that I have a little bit of a challenge with, and it's completely unrelated to anything I've said so far, is this, something that happened, perhaps as long as, 18 years ago, 19 years ago, maybe even multiple owners of this property ago. Now the city's issuing, an edict to say, hey, you've got to incur costs and undo something that we haven't had a problem with because we haven't communicated it to anybody for nearly 2 decades. And it's a completely different bag of issues, I think, than the ones we've been talking about, but that's another challenge here, and I know sometimes complaints can trigger that, or, just because, the building's on fire, and you haven't said, hey, put the fire out before, now is as good a time as any to say put it out. But at the same time, in a case where there are so many folks who are saying, this isn't hurting us, this isn't, causing us any grief, why now, if it's been like that for so long? And that's another thing I'm trying to balance in my head with some of the other issues that we're facing here.
Jim, you have any thoughts?
I'm inclined to agree with this part of the table so far. I don't know if Noel's going to go, but I'm a big believer in if someone buys into a situation and had nothing to do with it, I tend to support them unless there's some grievance that they did, like intentionally not get a permit or whatever. So because of the shape of the property, and because of the evidence of neighborhood support, I'm in favor of granting this. That's my position.
On motion to approve the variance as requested.
I second.
I'd like to suggest that you may want to include in your motion the clarification that we're not making any judgment one way or the other regarding the dispute between the neighbors.
Yeah.
Well, it's not part of the motion, so it isn't part of the motion, right?
Yeah, I mean, we can make
Very well.
a note of that.
And especially, I don't want us granting this variance to imply that we're giving the applicant any sort of hold harmless regarding whatever falls on his property.
Yeah.
In other words,
Comment for the record.
I just want it to be just for the variance request. I think everybody understands that, but it helps to make sure that it's on the record. That being said, we have a motion made, I believe, by Mr. Jim, did you start it?
I second it.
I'm sorry. Tommy started it, Jim seconded it. We have a motion made and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. You're good.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will have a demo.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you so much.
providing input.
Yep, take it easy, John.
Next, we have the Smiths. Ronald Smiths to talk about signs. Yes, please have a chair.
Ronald Smiths, 277 Ideal Trail, Howard, Wisconsin.
Okay, Paul, would you summarize what we have here?
Sure, this is 1000 Pine Street, also known as 1000 Main Street. It's the southeast corner of Webster and Main Street here. This is a nearly new auto, also formerly known as Smitty's Auto. And this is a variance for the number of signs on a building. And this is the facade along Webster Avenue. So this portion of the building was removed, I believe, last year. This portion underneath the star was left. And that's what you see on this facade here. So some permits were issued, some wall signs were issued for this sign here and on other facades of the building. However, these signs, we believe, were installed illegally and therefore don't meet, well, they don't meet the code for one, but they didn't receive a permit. And there's the number of signs that are allowed. So you're allowed one sign per street frontage. Obviously, there's 3 or 4 signs here. There's possibly an ability to group this as one sign during the sign calculation, but I believe it's still over the maximum of the 200 square feet that's allowed per wall sign.
I believe we've discussed a variance for this property before.
Yes, it's possible, yes.
Parking lot?
Yeah, the
Correct.
parking lot can,
Yep, and I think the pylon maybe that was out there. Yeah.
but in any event, this clarifies the issue I had. I'd forgotten that there wasn't a building there. This is the remnants of a larger building that was removed.
Correct.
Okay. Just to clarify again, Paul, this exists as it's pictured?
It does, yes.
Okay, this isn't a hypothetical, this is a existing.
I believe it's a real-world picture.
And the nearly new auto and truck sign on the top, you're saying has been approved, not an issue. The issue
Correct.
is the 3
Additional.
Okay, sir, if you could explain to us why there should be a variance granted here.
Okay, first of all, I know that this doesn't make it right, but I don't know if we can start with you, Noel, and if you're going to pass them down, but there's literally hundreds of properties in the city that are like this, that have more than one sign per side of the building. There's hundreds of them.
You aren't going to give us hundreds of pictures.
No, Anyway, you get the
Yeah, I
gist
got
of it. Okay, so it's, I know it doesn't make it right, but there's hundreds of them around the city. This is another thing that I'm sure everybody's familiar with that's becoming popular around the city, is they're doing wall art all around the city. There's dozens of them. And we've been working on this for about 6 months, I guess. And the city contacted an artist that I think does some of these other art buildings around town. And they asked me if I'd take down my OK emblems, if I'd be okay with any of these. And if I understand it right, that's all I'd have to do is say yes to any one of these, and the city would take on the burden. I don't know, it would cost like $3,000, I think, of city taxpayer dollars to have any of these done. And I'd like you to look at a few of these and pass them down. And again, that's all I'd have to do is say, yes, go ahead, and that's what this building would look like.
What do you
Art pile. Can I see that pile that's right in front of you?
Oh, yep, I'm sorry.
Sorry for interrupting.
Sorry for not passing. My wife reminds me of that all the time. Okay, now, before we go any further, Paul, can you explain the situation with the city's involvement with possible street art on businesses?
Right, our director, I think we talked to Ron about the opportunity for a mural on that building, maybe in lieu of these signs here, possibly removing those. A mural would be permitted, it's not a commercial message, it's a piece of art, so to speak. I don't know that Mr. Smith has chosen to go that route. I think he's chosen obviously to apply for a variance and keep those signs. But that was an option that was on the table that the arts director on staff who could work with Mr. Smith on putting a mural on that side of the building.
I don't know if any of you have saw anything here that you think is more attractive than what's up there right now. But I guess it's art's in the eye of the beholder. I like the art that I've chosen for my building. I just don't like the thought that my city government can choose the art that they want on my building. What I've tried to do here is by rebranding my dealership, this is the inside of my stores. I spent a lot of money to give them like an old antique kind of a feel, and new flooring. All these signs are, of course, replicas. This is what that building looked like before. And of course, this is what we have today. And what we've got here is, I'm sure you've seen these on the poles throughout downtown. We're in the arts district of Old Main Street. And what I've tried to do here is just fit in. I want to be part of Old Main Street and have an old time feel. Those OK emblems, they're actually from the 60s. They're from General Motors dealerships. And these, of course, aren't originals. They'd be worth thousands and thousands of dollars. But That's it, just trying to fit into Old Main Street, and actually with the appeals, through the appeal process before, the board actually asked, what am I gonna do at one point for beautification? And that was a topic we talked about, maybe putting plants and flowers, and so when I was done here, I looked at the side of this blank building that I thought looked awful, and I thought, what can I do for beautification? Well, this is what I've done. I didn't realize I needed a special permit to help beautify and display some art on the side of my building.
So just to be clear, you're not an authorized dealer of OK used cars? Does that even exist?
Correct. No, that's gone. That's an old
Okay.
GM thing of
So-
the past.
So that you're actually positing then as this is artwork instead of a business sign?
Yeah, these aren't gonna sell any vehicles for us. This is just to break up a building and again, we call it art.
So I'll beg the question that everybody has, are you proposing or would you agree to one of these other art murals on the side of your building instead of the 3 OK?
Not at all. If you look at them, it's definitely, anything like that is going to detract from our inventory. It's,
You've got cars parked in front of it.
well, along the sidewalk there, along Webster Avenue.
Right.
Right.
So, okay, so you brought up the issue of the art, not to suggest that you may be amenable to putting that on the side of your wall. You brought them up to demonstrate that they are a type of art that you are arguing you have put here.
Yes.
I'm trying not to put words in your mouth, but I'm trying to
Do a pretty
understand
good
where we
job.
were going with it.
I'd rather choose my own art for my own building.
Yeah. But in doing so, you run afoul of the ordinance regarding all of this stuff. How did this come up, Paul? Did somebody complain?
Yes.
Paul, how do you consider it a sign versus art?
It's a commercial message.
But if he's not
It doesn't
selling
exist.
those cars, you know what I mean?
That, the
That's-
customer doesn't know that.
True.
Okay.
They just see authorized dealer, okay, used cars, it's a used car lot. It conveys a commercial message, I would argue, even though I get the art argument as well, I think they're both true.
My immediate neighbor, Red Lewis, has praised this project from start to finish. I don't know, I don't think there's anybody in the audience here that's here to oppose.
Yeah, I mean, overall, the
Right.
property looks so much better than it did several years ago, right? It's-
Thank you.
Yeah.
May I ask a question?
Please.
Where did you get these renderings? I'm confused there.
The city had an artist contact me, and those are all her proposals. And if I would have looked at any one of those and said, yeah, let's go with this one, that's what that building would look like today.
Did you provide any input with the OK authorized, like, can you incorporate this idea into it, this idea of like 1950s, like bringing back this idea of vintage and stuff like that? Because none of that has, like, it seems like there was just absolutely no communication between the two parties in terms of a
Well,
cool
if you
design.
look at one of them, there's like tire tracks or something that she tried to incorporate to give it a car feel, but it's,
I want to
Yeah, that
get
one.
get his point in.
Yeah, just, I think one of the things, having spent some time doing public art stuff in the past and knowing the artist involved in this, those are not necessarily what I would call proposals for a mural on the side of that building. That's a completely different process. I think this was a situation where there's some concepts, like conceptually, what did it look like? Because those are all existing works or existing paintings or murals that were already shown on there as a part of it, not necessarily as a.
the one stack was all proposals. The one stack that I showed you was all proposals. Those were Those
Yeah,
are all.
perhaps those.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And again, those are from various artists that the city probably gathered and had some ideas for. Yeah, the others, I know, because some of those are murals around town. They wouldn't be repainted on this
Yeah.
building. It was just, I think, a concept.
I guess just to land my plane for the argument of it being art and it being something that is a callback to a vintage idea, that maybe takes away a bit of the branding that we're talking about. If there was a collaboration where they were able to do a design that incorporated that sign and maybe some stuff into the mural, and there was a better collaboration, would you be open to something like that? To land the art argument?
Well, that's why she kept producing, I mean, I don't even know if you looked at all of them. I mean, she kept coming up with more, and I just, every one I said, just, I can't picture that on my building, and just, it was one after the next, and.
No, but I'm trying to land the plane on one specific thing, which is, if I commissioned an artist and I said, hey, I'd love an artist to paint on the side of my building. Like, there's murals in my district where there's like a bee and it's coming down and it's got 3 drips, and then 5. It's on the building of 335. But that person who owned that property told the artist, hey, can you incorporate 3 drips of honey and then 5 to say, hey, that's my building. So there's a way to inform the person, if it's really an art argument, to say, hey, I'd like you to commission a piece to the side of my building that incorporates this vintage feel. Like, I feel like that's a winnable solution.
Yeah, but I think that's not what the petitioner's asking for here. In this case, he's asking to keep the signs he's got, and I think we should maybe talk more about that at the moment.
The art thing was brought up. So I'm
Yeah,
just
I
trying
understand
to
it, but I think he was bringing it up as
address
like
that.
saying it, this is art, then this is art, right? I think that was more your argument.
That's how I feel, it's like art's in the eye of the beholder, and I'm the beholder.
Right.
If it's, to me, it's my art.
I'm just curious about, and Paul, maybe you can answer this. So when you calculated the area of these signs, you know, in terms of that total for the code, how did you calculate that? I mean, did you draw a bounding box around the whole thing, or did you look at the actual area of the individual pieces?
One large rectangle.
Yeah, okay, so if you're looking at this as 3 small pieces and the thing, then it's not over the square footage, right?
I don't want to call it a loophole, that's the way we can get around the one sign component. Sometimes there are 2 signs, but they're so close together that we just treat them as one.
Right, but if you nested all 3 of these things right up next to that and then bounded the box in the most efficient packing, we'd probably be under the
Probably
area,
over
right?
200.
We'd be over 200 square feet, but we don't know by how much. And how long is this, how big is this wall? I mean, this is a significant
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact distance, but you can kind of see the outline of the building here,
Yeah, it's a third of the block.
30, 40 feet.
Yeah.
It faces Webster, that sign?
It does. Yeah, this is the street facing facade to.
How far is it set back from the road there? Doesn't look good.
Yeah, again, remember, this building is gone here, and this is the remnant building, so there's probably 25, 30 feet
Okay.
distance.
For the benefit of the applicant and for the people in the audience, we struggle with sign ordinances all the time. The way the law is written for us to grant variances, we would be well within our rights to deny every sign variance request we get. So what we're left with doing, in the way we've interpreted it anyway, is to come down with what we think is reasonable, given the constraints that are being violated and given the intent of the ordinance. I'll just say that in my perspective on this, I think this is fine. I don't want us to get into, my counsel for us would be not to get into aesthetics of, especially not aesthetics of art. I would never want us to be in the position of trying to get the applicant to put up a mural that he doesn't want to put up. I think
I
our,
just wanted to comment on that though, real quick. I'm not angling for that. He brought it up.
I know he did, but he brought
That's
it up
the
as
crux of his entire argument.
Yes.
So that's why I'm talking about it.
Right.
There's no other argument being presented besides art.
You know, we intervened. I mean, after this has been going on for some time, our staff reached out to Mr. Smith and said, look, hey, here's an alternative, would you consider it? And I think that's where it's coming from, so to speak.
Sorry to, I just want to make sure that's very clear.
Alderman Scannell, would you care to comment?
I would, thank you. Actually, I remember talking with Cheryl a few years back on the Public Arts Commission when there was an issue on Washington Street about signage, and I brought up, well, isn't this functional art? I mean, think of Andy Warhol's Campbell soup can, you know? I mean, advertising can be functional art, and this isn't even advertising. I don't think he thought he was advertising. I don't think he thought he was putting up signs. I think he thought he was doing a mural to fit in with the downtown. And I think it functionally works. I mean, I think it adds some pop, and it looks good, and I support it. I think it does give that old feel, and it does thematically fit in with his business. And since he's already done it, why, he's already put money into it. Why take it down, or why, you know, it just doesn't seem to make any sense. So I think he didn't violate any ordinance that he was aware of. He thought he was doing a mural, not signage. It's not signs that really advertise his business. And I think his functional art, well, it authorized okay dealer. He's an okay dealer.
Therein lies the problem.
Yeah. So I think it works as functional art, and it looks good, and I don't see any reason. And I would really like to sit down with staff. We started kind of looking at this, but, you know, we have a Public Arts Commission now, and we do have, I'd like to have that ordinance and the commission kind of segue together and see if we can't, because I'm not sure I really understand even the purpose of the ordinance. I'm not sure if it was 3 signs, would that, why is that a problem? I don't know,
Yeah,
but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, I don't want to get into that either.
Yeah.
But I would like to do that conversation. We started it with Cheryl, and then we kind of lost it, and I'd like to get back to it.
Well,
But I think this works as functional.
You raise an interesting point. If the applicant had actually proposed a mural, how does that fit in with the sign ordinance? Is it a sign, is it not? Is there a way that at least you guys have come to conclude that there's an exception or a difference?
Yeah, I really haven't seen those murals before, but if there's no commercial message, then it's basically a mural. It's
And
images.
even if it were a mural, and maybe going on a limb here, but if it were a mural of a 1950s era car dealership with an OK sign over it, like the photo you showed in the book, that probably would have been completely acceptable, even if it showed the actual business that was being, you know, portrayed there. You know, that's the difference that we've got here.
Yeah, well, like Pump's Tires, you know, they've got a car for their mural. I mean, it kind of relates to their business, segues into it. But,
I guess that troubles me a little bit. I mean, the city of Green Bay can promote the city of Green Bay. You know, that's a mural right on Main Street, right down the street from me.
Yeah.
They can promote the city.
Yeah,
Well,
and again, I think Alderman Scannell raises a good point about marrying aspects of the goals of the sign ordinances with the goals of the Public Arts Commission to the mutual benefit of the community and the business owners. But that's not what we're here to do today, right? We're here to-
right. I don't want to get into that, but I did kind of start that and kind of lost it. I would like to get back to that.
Petition.
But I think for this, I think it's working, it works, and it's already done, and it's what the owner wants. And I'm really hesitant about foisting, I mean, I'm all for promoting public art, but I don't want to foist something on a property owner that they don't want. You know,
I agree, and I wouldn't want to do it.
yeah, so, and I think this works. I think it looks good, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anybody other questions, then be willing to make a motion.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, sir, if you could have a chair.
Although I do differ with respect with Alderman Scannell's position on we should let it go when somebody's already done it, I mean, in contravention of the ordinance, right? This isn't something that happened 20 years ago and has been let slide, this is recent, right? However, and again, too, since we're talking about this signage, I'm completely comfortable continuing to do this. I would just note that my spouse created some of those conceptual art pieces that you're talking about, but that's not on the table here, so I'm not needing to have any sort of recusal or anything like that in terms of any conflict or potential conflict here. And despite us just saying we should never judge art, I know we've had a number of conversations about large buildings and buildings that have a kind of a market appearance or a high visibility appearance to passing traffic. And we've crafted specific variances for those situations where either the building was so large that it required multiple instances of signage, or there was so much traffic or visibility of that thing that it required some special handling. I think this property has some of those characteristics at the corner of Webster and Main. I think that from an aesthetic perspective and a balance perspective and a color perspective, I think the petitioner here has crafted a good-looking wall for the sake of what they're trying to do. I do see it as signage rather than art. I recognize that it's a classic sign and a defunct sort of brand or business, but it is still helping him sell used cars. But that being said, I think that it's well balanced, well conceived, and a well executed side of a building, and I think we should grant the variance, and I would so move that we approve the variances requested.
Do we have a second? We can continue discussion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Mr. Halverson, seconded by Mr. Babcock. How do we want to discuss this? I'll agree, by the way. I agree wholeheartedly.
I just wanted one more comment for the record. I'm going to vote no, and I think it's a dangerous precedent for us to look at signage and allow it to be, someone does something to the front of their building and the argument saying, oh, well, I did it, it's art, and therefore that should be the reason why we consider it, is a dangerous precedent. I can do whatever I want to my building, and then, oh, I claim it's art. Is it that what I felt was presented as an argument, and that is why I'm voting no. There was no other reason presented.
Okay. Further discussion? Very well. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Okay.
4-1. You're good.
Thank you, fellas.
Abstain.
You abstained? Yeah. 3-1. Three to one for the record, Lisa?
Correct.
Finally,
Yeah, and I agree with Tommy's point, though, just to say that motion was not about approving art on the side of the building, it was approving signage, just in excess of the ordinance.
great. Finally, we shall consider the property of Daniel and Benita Hall. Appreciate your patience. You drew the short straw and got to be the last person.
Hopefully this will be the last of three, we're much faster than some evenings have been for folks.
Okay, Paul, set us up.
Yeah, 2123 Emma Lane Court, Highway 5457 is to the south, UWGB is to the north here. Vacant lot, the owners proposed to build a single-family home on this lot. This is a site plan of the property, somewhat of a strange shaped curve in the front of Emma Lane Court. The outline of the proposed house here. The issue is the rear yard setback. Their basic footprint of the building encroaches into that rear yard setback of 25 feet. They are also kind of bound by the front setback here as well. Again, the curb doesn't help, but there's an existing home here that kind of sets that initial setback to the front. So they're trying to abide by that setback here, but again, they're infringing on the rear yard setback with their
By 8 feet max, it looks like.
Right.
7 feet on one side, 8 feet on the other, actually.
Yeah.
And actually, that's how the surveyor plotted it out when he went out there and surveyed it. I thought personally, we should move it 4 feet forward because that little bitty corner in the front would only go a little bit in over that front 25-foot setback. And then there would be only a 3 and a 4 foot overlap on the back 25-foot setback. And I'm fine with either way.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was thinking you're gonna run into problems on the side yards.
Well, I think we have enough room on the side, and maybe we can only get 3 feet and not 4 feet on the front. But we have 8 feet on the one side, and we only need 6, because the side setbacks are 6 feet. And we have 6 feet on the right-hand side as we look at it, and 8 feet on the left-hand side as we look at it. So sliding the whole thing forward that little bit, 3 or 4 feet, I think would make a whole lot of sense.
2127 looks like it's encroaching on the rear of their
If
property.
you look at this,
Yeah,
um,
that one.
yeah, this house here
Yeah,
looks like it's way,
Right.
there's no way there's 25 feet there according to what I'm seeing here.
Right.
Now, I didn't go out there with a tape measure and measure anything. The next house, there's a vacant lot, and then there's another house, according to this picture, which you guys have on the website, his driveway is over the lot line.
right, I see
Now,
that.
maybe these pictures aren't exactly right, but that's quite a bit.
Not that wrong.
I don't know that it's that wrong, yes.
Obviously, it was a struggle for all involved to fit in these houses.
I believe so, because, you know, we can't argue about the people who plotted these out and, you know, okayed it as plotted and all that, because they're not here anymore. But now, we got this lot, we're trying to build a modest house, a 1,600 square foot house, which fits the neighborhood. And if we can't build that on there, you can't build anything as far as a ranch house goes. You'd have to build a smaller footprint, 2-story house, and there's no other 2-story houses there.
Yours looks like it might be the smallest of the bunch, the lot.
It is.
Okay.
It is. And we're retired, we don't want to cut a lot of grass.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, hey, the smaller lot, you know, fine, we don't have to cut so much grass that way.
Laudable goal, I agree.
But then when after we bought the lot, and this is actually one of 2 house plans that we looked at, the other house plan was even deeper, because it was narrower. And we pretty much threw that one out. And this one is a standard plan by a builder. It's 1,600 square feet, 3-stall garage, which is pretty much, all the one right next door is exactly the same square footage. 1,608 or 1,610, just, you know, to be exact. And all we're looking at is get a little variance of the front and back line.
You're proposing the variance as, you're proposing the construction as there, but you've conceded that you may be willing to go forward, but that would cause a violation of the front yard setback, at least as far as the city's concerned.
Right, as far as our variance goes, we would have to have a 4-foot variance on the front and a 4-foot variance on the back, I guess.
One way or the other, you've got to have at least one variance.
Right.
Maybe 2.
Right.
Potential variation on the left side too.
I don't think we have to have a variance on the other
So you
side.
had a right-of-way over there, and I wasn't sure if that was affecting it or...
Well, the right-of-way is where the utilities, I guess, run underground.
Yeah, something's going on there.
But from the curb back, and Paul maybe can tell us better than I can, but I believe it's from the curb back is a 25-foot setback. And by putting the house 4 feet, 3 or 4 feet forward, as shown there, isn't gonna affect the utilities or anything like that.
Right. It's a pretty easy one.
It's an easy one, I don't...
Guess I'm-
I've talked to a couple of neighbors there. I asked them if they were gonna come, he says, well, why would we object? Why would we rather have an empty field with mice and, you know, moles and whatnot, you know?
Right.
You folks in the audience remaining, do you wish to speak for or against this piece of property?
I would have some questions. I don't know from a vote perspective yet, but,
No, if you're concerned, if that's why you're here, we will get to you, but I just
Okay.
want to make sure I understood. I entertained the slight possibility that we may have people wishing to stick around and
Well, I talked to one of the neighbors, and he really didn't understand what this was about.
That's why we're here.
And
we didn't either.
I'm willing to bet that's your same concern.
Yes.
And bottom line is, we're just trying to build a 1,600 square foot house there.
Should we get a letter in the mail, and we're like, we need to go find out what it's about? That's-
Okay, yeah.
Exactly.
Go ahead and ask questions. We ordinarily don't, but since you're the last one and suffered so
And
long.
I'm, you know,
So we
Yeah.
live at 3019, right at the tip of the corner.
Yeah.
Can we get your name and address, please?
Amy Winzenreid, 3019 Emily. So it would be our backyard.
Okay, so you're
A
behind us.
small portion. No, we're to the left.
To the left.
That little spot.
Number 21.
That's our house.
That
Yeah.
one, yeah, okay. Mhm.
So it was just a neighborhood concern, wondering what the request was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can realize that perhaps getting a letter in the mail from the city is
Yeah.
something to be concerned about. Did you have the same concerns?
Yeah, we live just 3038 Emily Drive, Aaron and Katie Weinschenk. We were just wondering if it was, we thought it was like right up to the lot line, which would be really weird for our neighbor on 22 to build a house there and then to think you'll have your backyard and their backyard.
Well,
But
there's-
then to
yeah.
be scooted out, we didn't realize, the letter didn't say how
Yeah.
much.
It's not like we
or-
build a deck and we can hand a beer over to the,
Yeah, well,
You know.
there's
Maybe
still,
that.
there's still open lots, and so we just wanted to know, I guess,
Yeah.
what exceptions
So,
would be made.
so basically it's saying, they're asking, because of the way the lot's shaped here and the front yard setback, instead of having the back of the house being not closer than 25 feet from the rear lot, of the lot,
Yep.
to be able to get it within 18 feet of the rear of the lot, you know? But the petitioner's also saying that if we let them, they'd go closer to the street.
right.
You know, to make the backyard bigger. And I think, I'm okay with that. I would say, you know, I think we should just, unless somebody's gonna be vehemently opposed to this, we say approve a variance with a, you know, a front yard setback encroachment, you know, of 5 feet, a max of 5 feet, and the balance to the backyard as per the petition here. So you'd be looking at, you know,
Yeah, if you were to
20,
5 feet on either,
yeah.
5 feet either side, that would be enough room to give it a little bit of, you know, fluctuation there, I guess.
Yeah.
Which,
As you move forward, you're gonna crawl into that, potential into that right of way. So I don't wanna I don't want us to do something here by allowing you to move forward and then running afoul of something.
no,
Yeah, not more than
Upper
5.
left
that 5
corner.
feet.
no.
Is that what you're talking about?
Let me, I can show you better, easy, I guess. This here, we just move forward about that much.
Yeah, it doesn't get anywhere
And-
near
and
the
we,
street.
You know, come here and then across
You're talking
like
about-
that. The utilities are up here.
There's something
Are you
along the
looking at
side.
that?
That's what
Okay,
I-
so if you move it up 4 feet, you might be crossing this setback.
Well, there's 8 feet there to start with now, and the minimum 6 feet. So we should have enough room.
Yeah, but there's a right of way in there. Do we know what that is, Paul?
I don't think there's any right of way.
No, there's no right of way here.
Maybe I'm inventing something.
Is the dash line the
It's just a
setback?
setback.
Yeah, that's actually, I think, the 8-foot setback.
Yeah, that's the
That's
side
6
yard setback, it's just not all,
Yeah.
All
the
right.
text isn't.
Yeah.
Sorry to bring up a phantom.
Yeah, but can that be crossed though? I mean, is that another?
It's a single-story house, they can go to 6 feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But that's showing 8 feet?
It's how much there is currently, so you could go 2 feet closer.
So he's
Yeah.
right.
And as we move
concerned about
the house
it. Okay.
forward, that 2 feet would,
No,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have to infringe
might
that.
I'm easily confused,
So I
but
think,
as I
to
say,
speed
I'm
this
the
up,
oldest guy.
I think the question is, what are you applying for? The 25-foot setback or moving it forward and doing both of them? Because we just got
Well-
a decision from you.
I think it makes more sense to move that forward, you know, a little bit, and then infringe on both the front setback and the back setback. That kind of equals it out.
Okay.
Not that it make a hell of a lot of difference.
So you're saying like 4 and 4?
Yeah,
So move the whole
Yeah.
property up
Because
forward.
right.
your total is it.
But we won't infringe on that side setback, because we have 2 feet there, the way it sits right now. Moving it forward, we will narrow that 2 feet down, but we would not have, we would go no further than, you know, where that would come up to 6 feet. Because I didn't,
That's fine.
you know, I can't do the math exactly. If we slide it 4 feet forward, are we gonna be right up against that 6 foot? But, you know, maybe we slide it 3 feet forward if we come up against that side setback.
Well, we're counting on Noel to come up with a
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here comes
very well crafted motion.
Noel's really good at these ones.
Yeah.
You know, if you give us 4 feet on either side, I think we're good.
I think if we just say, you know, since the setback is 25 and they're already looking to have 8 foot back into that, so we're at 18 feet, and at the front, they could move up, you know, forward a little bit. I think that we just make a motion granting, you know, a rear yard setback of not, you know, not less than the 18 feet, but also allow them a variance on the front yard setback of not less than 20 feet. And without changing the plan, right? With the plan as they've presented it today.
There you go.
We don't get a bigger house now.
No.
Is that
So they.
That means our neighbors to the rear will have to take a couple more steps to get
So they
there.
can slide it forward, but if it turns out there's some reason that they can't, then they still get approved for what they can.
They can't make the house bigger.
Right, right.
No.
Right.
So-
But we're not granting any side yard variances, so
Right.
we're
No,
just
we're just
allowing
giving them
some
a little latitude
flexibility
to-
to move the.
I think the plan, the house plan is, I think it's 1,610 square feet. I don't know if we had plans, the house plan.
No, but it's on the drawing here,
Yeah.
so I would move that we grant variances allowing a rear yard setback of not less than 18 feet and a front yard setback of not less than 20 feet with the plan as presented in the petition.
A second. Good job, Noel.
That's what he's here for. Okay, we've got a motion made by Noel, seconded by Tommy, to approve the variance as requested with the conditions that Noel has explained in his motion. Further discussion, gentlemen? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. 5-0, you're good.
All right.
Thank you.
I thought it'd be a lot simpler than those other ones.
Well, no,
If I was Mr. Schmidt, I'd be more concerned about infringing on copyrights with those Chevrolet signs.
I didn't want to get into that.
No, I didn't bring it up either, but I remember Humphrey Chevrolet.
May I ask a question of you
Back,
guys?
I worked in car business a lot of years, and, you know, yeah, those okay, that was the Chevrolet
Did you bring it with you?
logo. And I'll bet it's still copyrighted by GM.
It's good feedback for us. Like, I want to see what this
I
is.
didn't even want to
I
talk
would,
about it.
that would be, if I was him, I'd be more concerned with that. than with-
Their letter than with the city.
Because some GM district guy driving down Main Street, you know, sees that,
Just the agenda.
he might,
And it's the
Well, only if there's lots of Fords on the line.
And I went to.
We need to close the floor.
So moved.
Second.
Yep, okay, thank you. I can keep this? Yes.
Okay.
Floor's closed?
Well, there's a motion to close.
Oh, second.
Third?
No.
Jim seconded already.
All right.
Oh, sorry. Third.
do we need
Oh,
to
yes, all right.
sign anything or anything? Just, that's it? Okay, thanks.
All in favor to close the floor?
All right.
Aye, you're done. Oh, now we still have to do something else yet.
Oh.
Did you get that, Lisa?
Motion to adjourn. Wait, before we adjourn, real quick, I know,
We've got,
I think this is
we've got
interesting
two items
too.
yet on the agenda, so.
I do think this is interesting feedback that we should maybe take up. I don't know if we have the ability to give feedback to the city about this, but I think there's definitely something we can look at to clean this up in terms of notifications. They just get the agenda, that's it, and then they get this document that represents what the Board of Appeals is, which I've never seen.
Really? They don't get the same, they don't get a copy of the variance request?
Are they allowed, is that a legal reason why they don't get that?
It's just to simply inform them of activity in their neighborhood. The only problem with that possibly is if there's not contact information. I should be listed as a contact on that, so we have a point of contact to call.
So they can ask you, I mean, it's awesome that 4 people, like 2 families came to be involved, that's great.
Yep.
But I think it's good feedback for us that, like, they all came here because they're like, I don't have any idea what's
Yeah,
going
but
on.
if they saw the site plan and what they were asking, they might have gone like, oh, no, this is.
Yeah, they wouldn't be here, you know what I mean?
I frankly didn't realize that they didn't get a copy of at least a picture of the plan or something.
There's some logistics doing that too.
Right.
Sometimes there's 2 pages, sometimes there's
Right.
20
20
pages. in that.
pages, there's-
Right.
But I do like the idea
That
of
could be
maybe,
tricky.
hey, here's the thing, if you have questions about this, here's my number, Paul,
Yeah.
call me, and you can provide context.
At a minimum, that should be.
That might-
Or a link to the item online or something.
How do we make that
That's true,
adjustment?
too.
Is it just
Just follow
part
up there.
of discussion, and you can add that, or is it we have to like make formal decisions about that, or is that just something we can
No,
get
that's
feedback on?
administrative, we can do that.
Thumbs up. Good job, dude.
I like the fact you were here, though.
It's great.
Yeah, right, democracy in action.
Motion to adjourn?
No, we still have
We still have a couple of things, discussion revisions.
Nice try, Greg, but nobody's gonna second that, unless Jim just did.
That's just a perpetual item.
Just a perpetual item. I
Oh,
think
okay.
that can probably be reflected in what Tommy's suggestion was. And in fact,
There you go.
maybe ways to,
That was discussion of revisions to process.
Well, but I do think where are we at with the new application and all of that stuff?
Yep, we can't, we don't have it on the door yet, we're working on it.
Come on, Paul.
But the other issue was, I think, the rules and procedures, I don't know, Don, if you were looking at that, that's.
yeah, I thought I gave my,
Yeah, I mean, we could revisit that in the next few months, maybe in a slower time to go through some of that.
yeah, well, I proposed a rewrite that incorporated a lot of what Tommy had suggested once before, so that's still pending.
But the application is still in process?
So.
Yeah, we're trying to get the format finished. and then get
Maybe
it
at
out.
about the time you have an application to present us, you can present us all again with the way the rules and procedures stand at that point.
I think we went through the application process, I think it's just us formatting it and getting it on the website, that's our challenge right now.
Okay.
But I think the next step would be the rules and procedures, if you want to revisit that as a body and pick through that.
Why don't you have Lisa or Jesse send us out the rules and procedures again, the way she and you believe they currently exist, and we can maybe
Could work
formally
out.
say,
Okay.
yep, this is what we agreed to, because I don't think we really have on those yet. I sent a red line to Jesse, and that's where we are.
Yeah, and we haven't updated those in a few years.
Yeah. So,
But you did get the red line that he sent out?
I believe so.
Have those changes been made yet?
On the rules and procedures?
Yep, correct.
No.
we haven't officially,
Yeah, we should
until we
talk.
officially approve our own rules and
Right.
procedures, we're still sitting with something that was approved.
Oh,
So we should get it out, and we can have that next meeting or so.
Cool.
I believe somebody attempted to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
I was gonna second it, so I'll second it.
All right, are we finally done now? All in favor?
Aye.
We're done.